This is Dolly. She is a healthy 4-year-old halfling mare. Together in this video series, we will accompany Dolly on her journey toward having her very first foal. At 4 years of age, Dolly is in the best condition both physically and mentally to become a mother. Like most other mares, Dolly reached sexual maturity, that is the ability to conceive, at 1.5 years old or approximately 18 months. While some reach that maturity earlier, some reach it later. It varies from individual to individual. However, between the ages of 1.5 and 3 years old, Dolly was still undergoing significant growth and development. Pregnancy and carrying a foal to term require a tremendous amount of energy that she would have otherwise needed for her own development. Conversely, some mares may already be ready for breeding by the age of 3. First, let's take a general look at Dolly's estrus cycle. Her estrus is seasonally polyestrous, meaning it happens multiple times during a specific season of the year. Typically, this takes place from March to September, occurring at intervals of approximately 3 weeks. Dolly's body senses when the daylight duration and the temperature are just right. She has also thoroughly tested the pasture grass. The provitamin beta-carotene found in young fresh grass signals to her body that at this time next year, when the foal is born, a reliable food source will be available. Some mares do not have as much access to pasture as Dolly does. These mares should receive supplemental beta-carotene to support their reproductive cycles. For Dolly, as in the case with other mares, estrus ceases completely for several weeks during winter. This phase is known as the cycle rest or seasonal anestrus. Dolly's body recognizes that daylight hours are diminishing. The weather has turned quite cold and the quality of the grass is no longer at its best. Raising a foal now, in addition to these conditions, might not be the best idea. When the cycle begins anew in the warmer months, estrus is not yet regular. It takes time for everything to settle back into a steady rhythm. But what is actually happening inside Dolly? The cycle is controlled by hormones. When the time is right, the hypothalamus, which is the control center for the autonomic nervous system and the hormonal system in horses, releases increased amounts of the regulatory hormone or gonadotropin-releasing hormone, short GnRH. This stimulates the pituitary gland to produce the follicle-stimulating fertility hormone, or FSH. Follicles are the fluid-filled sacs on the ovary in which the egg cell matures. With this, the first introductory phase has begun, the proestrus. It lasts, on average, through up to 3 days. It begins prior to estrus, and if a mare is already in a regular cycle following luteolysis. This is the regression of the yellow body on the ovary. We will also come back to this phase later. During the course of proestrus, a dominant follicle develops and grows approximately 40 mm by the time of ovulation. The other, smaller follicles also grow. They become subordinate. In the growing follicle, the female sex hormone estrogen is produced, typically reaching a maximum 24 to 48 hours before ovulation. The rise in estrogen levels prepares the genital organs for a potential pregnancy. Proestrus is followed by the true actual phases of a mare's heat. Estrus, which is the actual heat, or also called the follicle phase, and diestrus, which refers to the interestrus period. The estrus phase can vary from mare to mare, just as it does in humans. Most mares, including Dolly, are in heat for approximately 8 to 10 days. Fewer are in heat for 11 to 17 days, and very rarely are mares in heat for a very short period, that is, for 4 to 7 days. The high estrogen levels that develop during proestrus inhibit the hormone FSH, which is responsible for egg growth. They signal the release of the hormone LH, which triggers ovulation. In mares, the ovulation hormone does not rise quickly and then drop immediately. Instead, it behaves like a sluggish wave. The mare reaches the absolute peak level of this hormone only after ovulation has already occurred. The hormone remains extremely high in the blood for a whole week or even longer. So, if we would take a blood sample from Dolly now, it couldn't tell us precisely when the ovulation happened. That is why the veterinarian always uses ultrasound to check for the ovarian follicle. The dominant follicle is a shapeshifter. Initially, it is round. Just before bursting, it becomes cone-shaped, while its wall grows thicker and softer. This allows it to burst open more easily later on. Ovulation occurs exclusively within the designated ovulation fossa. It is a kidney-shaped indentation on the mare's ovaries. The mare's uterus and cervix are flaccid, relaxed and wide open, allowing sperm to pass through easily. In addition, the mucous membrane swells and folds as fluid accumulates there. It becomes edematous. The cervical OS relaxes to such an extent that it descends to the floor of the vagina. Cervical mucus, the secretion found in the cervix, becomes more fluid to facilitate the movement of sperm. Externally, Dolly clearly signals when she is in heat. For the last few days, she has been less focused during her training. She is also urinating more frequently. In the pasture, she constantly stands close to the fence shed with the geldings and turns her hindquarters toward them. She lifts the base of her tail and releases a mixture of urine and mucus to signal her readiness to mate. A bit pushy. Dolly, can't you at least try to be more subtle? Once a mare has ovulated, she enters a resting phase. It is called the Estrus and lasts on average 10 days. The hormone progesterone rises rapidly. It becomes measurable in the blood just 24 to 36 hours after ovulation. This hormone ensures that the mare is no longer receptive to mating. Even though the resting phase has started, new follicles are developing on the ovaries. However, because the hormone progesterone levels are so high, these follicles simply die off. This process is called atresia. If after all this, Dolly is not pregnant, her body must break down the old corpus luteum so that a new cycle can begin. For this purpose, Dolly's brain releases a hormone called oxytocin. It prompts the uterine lining to produce a naturally occurring degrading agent called prostaglandin. This substance destroys the corpus luteum, causing progesterone levels to drop again and creating the conditions for the next heat cycle. As this happens, all typical signs of estrus fade. The internal organs change back to their original shape. The uterus contracts and becomes firmer. The cervix closes tightly and takes on a cone shape to protect the interior from germs. The swelling and the intense blood flow associated with estrus subside. Afterward, the mucous membranes appear pale and dry. Dolly is no longer showing any signs of wanting to mate. The interest in her neighbor geldings is gone again. If a stallion were to get too close or show interest now, she would react aggressively. She would nip, pin her ears back, and even fend him off with targeted kicks. And just like that, Dolly's heat is over for now. In total, it lasted 21 days. Thank you for watching this far. In the next video, we will talk about insemination. If you'd like to skip that and jump to the course of pregnancy, feel free to do so. Source links and vocab will be added to the description below.